Hello everyone, and welcome to the Jim Kroft Podcast. Every week I ask myself, how do we go about the business of our lives? Though so much is available in the modern world, often we get stuck in our own lanes. It's for this reason that I'm striving in my podcast to bridge the gaps between apparent opposites. Every solopreneur has to find a way to discover their creative power, just as every artist must learn how to navigate the business side of their careers. Of course, these things are in no way mutually exclusive, but what is sure is that the lessons from today's guest, Reuben Stone, cannot be learned from any manual or by following the latest guru on Twitter. A busker who has risen from the streets to global recognition, Reuben takes us through his odyssey with unflinching honesty. I conducted today's podcast in my Berlin studio, and though we'd never met, we were familiar to one another through the local scene, and it was a real joy to finally get to know this extraordinary man. Reuben's is a story of reckless courage, burning artistic ambition, and a warrior spirit. Whether from the rubble of surviving the Christchurch earthquake or coming back from financial ruin in the pandemic, he invites us into the place where song is born and where resilience is forged. An artist who has literally grown his career street by street, Reuben has played all over the world, gained millions of Spotify listens, and supported artists from UB40 to his great friend Tash Sultana. Today's podcast is a reminder that the musical path, and indeed our lives, are as much a struggle as a symphony of growth. It's a story of attempting to perform at your highest level despite what the world throws at you, an account of the way that humans claw back from the brink, and a testament to what we discover beyond the precipice of our breaking. It's my great honor to introduce you to Reuben Stone. Finally, on a personal note, thank you all for the continuing support, and as ever, if you enjoy the podcast, please take a moment to rate and write a review. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. That is on. Okay, so we're gonna go. So, camera one rolling, camera two, camera three. That was good, that was good. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Reuben Stone in the house on the podcast. Welcome, my brother.
Jim.
So, man, look, I want to say, do you have any idea how I came across you?
No, actually.
So, our mutual friend, Dean is home, right?
Oh, the man.
The man himself, Dean, shout out. And it was one of his stories. And he was there, and he looked at the camera, and he just started shaking his head, like he does. And then he just turned the camera around, and it was you just blasting it out. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then as I got to know Dean, I was like, well, I've got to just follow the gingerbread trail towards Reuben. So it's so nice to meet you, man.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude. So look, let's just dive in, and we'll go through some different questions. And to start with, I just wanted to kind of give everyone a little sense of your journey and where you come from, who you are, how you gravitated towards Germany. So maybe you could just give us like a little sense of where you come from first.
Okay, from the very start or from...
Yeah, well, so where were you born? Where did you go to? How did you get to Germany?
Yeah, well, I'm obviously born in Christchurch, New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Grew up by the beach, and my dad's a musician, and he got me into it very early, maybe 3 years old or something like that. So I started playing the drums first. He was like banging drums, making noise everywhere. And 3 years old from then, and then about 7 years old, I started playing the bass. He bought me my first bass, and I was just jamming with him on the drums, playing bass as well. And then 11, when I was at, call it in New Zealand, intermediate school. It's like in between high school and primary school. I started playing guitar and playing in bands then, so it was maybe 2001. And
was that out of your own instinct? Did you just come across it and go, yeah, that's the one for me? Or?
There was just a rock band that you could join at school, and I just kind of put a little band together and went in the school band competition with other intermediate schools and high schools, and that's where I started playing guitar and singing. So yeah, 2001.
But essentially you didn't go on to the drums or the bass, which was where you came from.
Yeah. I just kind of followed the guitar by then. I was wanting to be the front man by then because I was already writing songs. And I think I started about 8, 9 years old. I was writing songs with my
on
dad.
the bass?
With my dad, we were writing songs together. So by the time I was good enough to write my own songs, I was about 11.
So young,
and
man.
Then, 15, I started playing keys. At a high school, I was doing like basic keyboard. And then when I was 26, I started playing trombone. And then basically that was not 8 years ago. So that's kind of started with a rhythmic bass with just drums and bass. And then on top of that, it was just guitar, keys, and trombone.
Wow. So I mean, that's what's one of the wonderful things about when you come across you with the music is that you're not only just doing one thing, but you're playing at such a high level, so many different instruments. So it gives me a clue of how you got to that level. I was like, how the hell does he do it?
It's all just smoke and mirrors, really.
Yeah, but it's a damn good smoke and mirror, and it works well. And so many people are following your journey. So when you were you still playing a trombone? Were you still living in New Zealand then, or was that already when you migrated across to Australia?
It was when I was living in Melbourne in Australia, 2012. I was just driving a van around the East Coast and sleeping and living in it, really. And I just saw a trombone for sale for $100 and just bought it. And then I'd never had a lesson. I just taught myself. I just started blowing on it. Actually wrote a song in the key of B flat, which is the same key as the trombone. So I would be able to make a loop and then play trombone and just practice.
Lovely.
And that's how I just learned in B flat. And then I just figured out where A was and G and...
Well, I remember there's this lovely quotation from The Edge, and he was like, someone was asking him about arranging songs, about how he became such a great player, and he just said, look, if you want to learn an instrument, write a song and write parts for it. And it reminds me of that. Just that sort of can-do attitude and learning by doing and not being afraid of stuff.
Yeah, I'm probably doing everything wrong, really. If you ask a professional player, if they're going, nope, you're not supposed to be doing that. And it's happened before. People have told me, you're doing it wrong. And then I tried to do it the way they did it, and then it completely ruined the way I did it. And then I had to relearn again. And it's just been it's always teaching me something rather than,
But they probably don't see you, they probably say you're doing it wrong, but then they don't probably have the same reaction as you get when you're on Mauer Park and you've got hundreds of people dancing like crazies around you.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a traditional trombone player. I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so you were in the van. So how long were you in the van for when you were in Australia?
I had a van for 4 years there.
Were you living in it all the time?
No, I was based in a warehouse in Melbourne, a creative space.
Oh, wow. So what was the story there?
I was just got sort of introduced to this creative hub in Melbourne and kind of North Melbourne, Brunswick, Brunswick East, Brunswick West, and there's a lot of warehouses and a lot of artists, and I just started playing warehouse parties. With when I started the looping, around about 2012. And I just got introduced to the underground party scene, raving, and just, not going to clubs or bars, just underground warehouse raves. So
that must have informed where you went musically, just having that sense of dance and making people move and providing that sort of, because there's such a sense of fun and joy in your music.
Yeah, I was just happy to do anything at that time. I just wanted to play wherever I could, whenever I could, Yeah, and I was just practicing my live show and evolving it and getting new equipment all the time. And that's when I started, because I moved to Melbourne in 2012 because my city, Christchurch, had a big earthquake in 2011. So the whole city basically was flattened by this earthquake. Most of the main street, and I think there was 180 people died in that. So that's when I had to kind of think, should I stay here for any longer, or should I move to Australia and try and restart my life there? So I moved there, and I ran out of money. I had $5,000, and I partied for 2 months. And then ran out of money, and I thought, what am I going to do now?
Such a musician move, just blow it all.
What am I going to do now?
Madness.
What am I going to do now? And then I bought a small busking amp, and I just sat down and just started playing my songs, and people just started giving me money, and That's how I started.
So it started out of necessity. So that was the path, was you just running out of money. The earthquake happened, you'd moved across, you blew it having too mumuch fun, and then you were just like, what am I going to do? Or
I was looking at jobs. Oof. I was looking at real jobs, thinking, oh no. And then I saw someone playing guitar over there and people are giving them money. I could do that. So I spent my last 500 on the amp, and the rest is just history, really.
Dude, what a story. I mean, just when one really thinks of origin stories and what brings you where and why, I mean, it blows the mind just when you think about the chain of serendipity and chance and coincidence that leads you to that spot in your in your life. And,
exactly, yeah.
And I mean, it's so interesting as well. It's that kind of parallel between that sort of yay and nay, of like, okay, job, sitting in an office. Okay, what is it that I can do, and how can I do it? So one thing that I'm interested in, so when I was coming through as a musician, it was very much through the club scene. I was in London, and the kind of whole thing was that it was still kind of the way to do it, or not the way to, that doesn't sound right, but in terms of just the club scene felt like the natural kind of like thing that you gravitated towards, like you wanted to make it in the club scene and stuff, and that kind of felt just like the pathway to progression. Now, when is this? This must have been like 2002, 3 when I started in London. I had about 7 years in London before I came here. And so one of the interesting things for me is that, so you came across you went broke and you got the busking amp, and then it started working. But did you have a relationship with the clubs? Was there a conscious decision to move in a different direction from the clubs, or were you doing that simultaneously? What was the relationship there?
Well, when I was living in New Zealand, so I had a teaching business where I was teaching kids, high school kids, adults. I had something like 80 guitar students a week. So I was teaching a lot, and I was also playing covers.
How many?
I had 80 students a week, like 30 kids at one school, and then...
oh, wow, okay,
I had a bunch of older people as well, and I was teaching at like a university, because I studied 3 years at this university, and then they gave me a job at the end, teaching guitar as like the secondary guitar teacher, so that was cool. And things kind of just were going quite good, and I was playing 4 nights a week, just covers. Yeah. Like covers 3 hours, 4 hours a night, 4 times a week, as well as the teaching. And then the earthquake happened. Wow. And then that kind of, all the kids were all traumatized, everything, all the schools were broken, things were not as smooth anymore. And all the bars and stuff that I played in were broken, and then you couldn't play there anymore. Wow. And then, that's what pretty much made me move to Melbourne. I stayed for 1.5 years after the earthquakes, and it was a pretty sad and depressing time.
Oh, man, you can't even... I mean, that's the thing, is you come across these terrible things in the news, and the one recently in Turkey, and of course for this short amount of time it's in the news, and there's the empathy, and everyone's sort of plugged into it, and then just one day suddenly on the mainstream platforms, it's like it ends up on the editing room floor, and it's done and it's gone. And I mean, it's just that micro story that you said just showed so many aspects of just the lives that are affected, the people running the music scene, and they don't have the possibility. The kids are traumatized. The teacher can't. There's not the infrastructure. I mean, it's just devastating to think of. And that's just one story, just one little glimpse. It was
very strange, actually. This moment that this happened. I'd just been at a gig. 2 hours in bed, and then there was one in 2010, and there was a big one, even bigger one, in 2011. So the first one was 2010. I was asleep in bed, and I was having a dream, and I was like having a dream that I was on a boat, and there was people rocking the boat, and I was going like this, and I was like, and then I woke up, and I was like, what the hell? And then all the windows in my house started like breaking, like all windows breaking, because the house is like twisting like this. And then I was like, fuck. Got my underpants standing outside the house, and my underpants just alone. And then it went for about a minute, 2 minutes.
So, and you're just on the ground?
And just standing just outside of my underpants. And then it stopped, and then all you could hear was just dogs barking, and car alarms just woo, 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 the dogs going, and it was a pretty crazy experience, actually.
And you got out quickly, so were you on the ground floor, or?
Oh, it was just a little flat. Yeah, it was just a flat block of flats, and I went next door to see my 95-year-old next door neighbour to make sure she was all right.
In your underpants?
Yeah.
It's Reuben Stone, ladies and gentlemen.
She was in there huddled under the table, and all the went into her kitchen, and her whole kitchen was trashed. There was stew. Her old lady stew was just everywhere, and yeah, she was crying and under the table, and I was just like brought her back over to my house and made her a cup of tea.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's just, I mean, it's so moving. Just these. Obviously, you know, getting a sense of you as a person, it's the most natural thing in the world that you do. But it's all those tiny moments of decency that come out, and it's just. I mean, it's interesting nowadays because we're so plugged into the negativity in the news cycle, and of course, it's the negativity that sells. But it's all of these millions, billions, trillions of small actions day by day that actually, I think, for the largest part, compose the world. And I don't know. It's just, I feel like in your music, there's such a sort of vibe and energy and positivity and a life-giving force. And it's where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's just, yeah? Where do you draw your groove from, your power? Because
I don't know, just pain and struggle, really.
Would you? I mean, when I say that, I see that uplifting quality.
Yeah.
Like, do you identify with that, or do you think, well, actually, no? Like, it's the full spectrum. I'm kind of thinking about it in terms of the reaction that people have is that they're always moving and buzzing and grooving and whooping, and they just love your music.
Well, it's always been something that's always there for you, you know, music. You know, instruments are always going to be there for you. Sometimes people aren't, you know. People that you think might be there for you forever just all of a sudden are gone one day. So when I pick a guitar up, I just know what it's going to sound like. I know what speaks to me. So that's how I write. I pick guitar up, I jot lyrics down, I put lyrics from 10 years ago with songs that I wrote this year, you know, and I just mix it up and just take inspiration from the instruments, you know.
So it's been like your life partner then through the challenges that come on the musical path.
Yeah, the musical path really is a struggle, you know. In New Zealand, it's very hard to break through. You know, there's only a small amount of space for artists. There's about 5 bands in New Zealand that have just been famous for 20 years, and it's very rare that a new artist comes through and will take those festivals off those bands. You know, they kind of just own it. So it's real. I battled with that for years, and then I went to Australia, and I did better in Australia. That's where I met. I got a manager, Tom Larkin, from the band She Had, which are a pretty famous New Zealand band, and that's where I met Tash Sultana, who was also a big part of me.
Touring in the US.
In the US and around Australia for, a couple of years, 3 years. I was pretty much on the road with Tash, doing just support slots, and that was a real big step up because, you know, I'd just been busking for a couple of years, and this is where I developed, so I was playing, you know, 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. So like I was really starting to become autopilot, and it's starting to not even have to think about it. And that's when you can start, when you play so much, you've also got to entertain the audience.
Yeah.
So if you have to think about what you're playing, and there's this natural kind of human jukebox thing that happens, you know? When you're playing all the time, you don't really think about it, and then you can focus on entertainment and drawing people in and who's walking past, and you know, like my show is on the street is completely different than a stage show because I spend a lot of the time of my show gathering an audience, and then I kind of start the show. So it's adding like another 20-minute build where I get a crowd, and then I start doing like the songs that sell the CDs or sell, you know, make people want to follow, make people want to give me money, you know, so I can buy more stuff. And that's what it was. It was just a constant change of equipment, breaking equipment, buying new equipment, trying to cut weight so it's easier to move it around. It's just a constant cycle. Now I've got it down to a thing where I'm cruising around on an electric skateboard. I don't have to push it anymore. I've got like my case can be flown, so it's 23 kilo now. It used to be something like 45. And I had to have 2 people to move it.
Reuben, hold on. I watched a reel of yours like yesterday, and you were hauling it. In fact, you were pushing it up the stairs, thinking the S-Bahn or out of the U-Bahn. Yeah. So it doesn't look like it's so light still.
It's the whole thing is about 55 kilo of equipment on the skateboard, but I can also ride the skateboard with the equipment on it. But apparently, electric skateboards are illegal in Germany. Apparently. Ignore,
carry on. You've got to do what you've got to do. I mean, this is the thing that I think that people see buskers and they love to be entertained, stop a while, have a beer, have that experience, and of course that's all part of what you're giving. But I think it's hard for people to actually understand the sheer amount of fire, struggle, pain, carrying heavy stuff. And the thing that I find most mind-blowing is just the motivation day after day, year after year, because it's no joke. Even like, getting my film gear to one job, and I'm sweating every time before I leave the house. Yeah. And, so it's I don't know, how do you like keep yourself motivated for the path? Because you've been doing it for a long time and you're so busy and on the path.
Well, just constantly, like the street, like I love playing on the street. I also love doing festivals and like headline shows. Like in Australia, I was doing a bunch of headline shows, and in New Zealand, but I haven't really got there in Europe yet. But I think what keeps me going is with the street stuff is I'm just always meeting new people, and I like making people happy with the music, and that what makes me happy. I see them happy, it makes me happy. If they're giving me energy, I'm giving it back.
So it's a circle.
Yeah, it's like it's a cycle of just like enjoyment, really, and it's always a good feeling when someone buys your music.
100%.
If someone goes, people are buying 2, and then I've sold. Like, I used to sell a lot more CDs than now. Obviously, CDs are are quite slow. Yeah. But I used to do something like 1,000 CDs a month. And then
from the street, absolutely amazing.
And then, but in a festival situation like Edinburgh Fringe or Avignon Festival, I'm doing something like 1,500 in 3 weeks. So like crazy. This is 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. I sold like 25,000 CDs in Europe.
That's serious numbers.
Yeah, I mean, like that's more than platinum in New Zealand, but no, it's not official,
But it's still real. And the thing is that, what I love is that you see the effect. I mean, you go onto your Spotify and you've got millions of plays there. And it's like what I loved when I go on that, and I had a sense already of your path. I don't know you personally, but you get a sense of someone and you research about them. And I also know what it takes to be on the musical path for years and years and years. And it made me so happy when I just went onto your Spotify and I just saw all of these plays and that appreciation, because I mean, maybe it's a naff thing about, this numbers nowadays, but it's just when you see someone who is committed to the path and done so much work year by year, and to know the motivation, the hunger and the power and the desire that it takes to do that, is just to see the reward. And I understand that, okay, it's 1 million plays isn't, getting you, on a song, it's great, but it's not bringing you in crazy money or anything, but you still have to get to that platform to be able to sell out the shows and to be able to get, hopefully, those songs to 10 million plays each over the next 5 years. And the thing is, I think there is this compounding effect that I think is a really important lesson to pass on to sort of artists who are maybe a bit behind where you are, because if you muscle it out and you get to that stage, there is a compounding effect where you start building momentum potentially in a whole new direction. Of course, you still have to continue gutting it out and gristling it out, and I mean, hopefully one day there's an upswing where it gets a bit easier. But to get to the point where you're at is a very significant point on the journey, I think. How do you feel about it? About where you're at right now?
I'm actually, I'm feeling much more inspired than I ever have, because
Amazing, man.
Before I moved to Germany, I'd been in lockdown in New Zealand for maybe like 2.5 years. So like the music career was just like handbrake was on, and I was just living in my house. I was doing some work for my dad. I was growing weed for a job. And I was all of a sudden just, this was my thing, I was like, oh, wow, I can't believe I'm stuck here doing this. And then
Did you feel like you were literally stuck, as in, my life has arrived back here, I don't know if I'll get back to it?
I was financially ruined because I toured once, lost big money on tour, and then another tour again, and I tried one more time, 3, and then I was completely financially destroyed.
What was it about the touring that
just no one would come to the shows because of in New Zealand, because of the government with the vaccination thing and the masks, and people just didn't want to
So you were trying to hustle it out as a musician during that time when no one was going to shows?
Oh, well, they had 50 capacity events, so like they'd change it from 50 and then all of a sudden it'd be gone. So I'd organise all these shows, I'd put a lot of money into promo, and then it would get cancelled, or it was just really a big battle. So that was 3 years of that, and then I met these buskers actually about 2012 in Melbourne when I lived there, Amistad, and they're German twins who are really quite famous in Germany now, and I still talk to them on the internet.
I know the guys. I mean, they've got absolutely mental.
Yeah. So I saw a tour. I was like, man, these guys have like 60 dates around Europe, and I was like, that would be an absolute dream if I could do that. And I said, who's your agent? And then they were like, oh, his name's JP. He's we're in the van with him right now. We'll show him your music. So they chucked my music on, and they were touring around Europe with JP, and JP was like, yeah, we really like your music. We want you to come over and do some shows.
Are you serious?
This is when I was living in my house, depressed. My girlfriend had left me. I'd just hit rock bottom. I was drinking every day. I was smoking weed constantly. I was really in a bad way, I was really...
Were you conscious of being in a bad way and compensating with the drink and the smoking?
I was really stuck. I was really stuck, and then this breakthrough happened with one person showing my music to one person, and then I just went bang, and then 8 shows was booked.
Amistad, triggered it. Man, those guys, dude, that's amazing.
They've always supported me from the beginning.
Dude, that's beautiful.
So this is what put me in touch with
I just love hearing artists helping artists, Beautiful.
And then they signed me to a Filter Music Group, so this is my agent who books all my shows around Europe now. So they started with 8 shows, and then it was like 20 shows, because everyone was really interested, and I was going, fuck, 20 shows, that's pretty awesome. And then it all got cancelled again because of COVID. And I was thinking, oh no, another year, another winter, stuck here.
Oh man.
And then like a month later, JP emailed me again and said, they're back on. All the shows are back on. They've opened up again. Germany's open again. And now I've got you another 25 dates. So I ended up doing like 45 or 50 dates last year.
45 days? Dude, that guy's doing his job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job,
Wow.
So, I did that, and
just phenomenal.
I'd been touring like a lot before that, but I always had 2 people, I had so much equipment. So at this moment, everything just condensed down to being manageable with one person, and then I thought, I've never toured Europe on this scale before, and I think, can I do this on my own, I'm so used to having one person to help me, and I thought, no, I'm going to do it all on my own, man. I just really needed to just prove to myself that I could do it.
You reach a threshold.
Yeah, I'm on the Flixbus, I'm on the train, I'm flying alone, and I did it, and then after that...
45 dates?
45 dates,
all around Europe or Germany?
All around Europe,
Europe.
In Italy, Hungary, Netherlands, Switzerland... heaps of shows in Germany. There was some other ones, but all this was like, okay, so I've just got my stuff and I throw it on the train and I just take the train, and then did every show, nailed every show, and they were just super happy with me. So I was really happy to be able to achieve that goal. It was really empowering, because I'd always had another person.
Yeah.
So I needed to punish myself, and be, I can do this. I want to be awake all night on a train, and arrive 7 in the morning and then have to be at the venue at 12, and just on a constant battle and just enjoying every moment,
Wow. And I mean, what's so amazing. I mean, it's such a transformation story because you're talking about going from the absolute gutter moment of your life.
Like suicidal, man. I was suicidal.
Oh, are you
points.
serious?
Yeah, I was, I was having, like, my partner left me and I was in a real bad way, you know?
Man.
Like, I messed up, you know? Like, I'd openly admit that I was, like, really bad. And she would say, like, you know, you've got issues. And I was like, no, I don't. And then I like really like after this music sort of with the agency thing, I stopped all drinking, stopped smoking. I was like, whoa, man, yeah, I really did have issues. You know, I was really cooked. So it was quite nice to go clean and just get back on the road. And
you went clean?
Yeah, I just stopped drinking and smoking, for like, you know, until I came to Europe and started touring, obviously.
But you got yourself right.
Yeah.
You reacted to where you were.
Yeah. I mean, when you're smoking that much, it's like, you don't know, because it's just normal. Mum said, you know, you're smoking too much weed. And I said, oh, yeah, that's probably right. You can't communicate. You can't communicate anymore. And I was like, yeah, actually. So I just stopped it there and I started to focus on the music like 100%, you know. I think, you know, a relationship as well, you know, it takes a lot of the drive and pure love away from the music. You know, you've got to put time into the relationship, you know, and with a music career like this, a solo artist, you need to put everything into the career. There can't be any time for love, you know. If you want to do well, you've got to go and just do it yourself.
So what about loneliness on the path? Because I mean, look, man, I've done the touring thing on my own, around the trains, planes, and the rest of it, and it's not easy. I mean, I'm pretty capable of being on my own. I don't know why, but I find it easier when I'm like traveling on my own as without touring, but with touring on my own, I find that more lonely in a totally different way. Did you struggle with that at all? Or
not at all.
Not at all.
I thought I would. I'm an only child, yes. I come from like entertaining myself, you know? And I really just liked being on my own, you know. I didn't have to think, hey, where are we going to sleep tonight? It's like I just find somewhere myself, you know. I wasn't so worried about like looking after someone. You know, I was just looking at me. You know, it was like time to look after me. You know, and put the love into the music.
So, what do you think that? Because you all obviously, what moves me is that you took responsibility within the space that you got yourself in, and you weren't in that space. It doesn't sound like to me as a result of like bad things you'd done. I mean, the world had collapsed, and you felt like you'd come to sort of a threshold or even an ending point with what you'd set out to do with your life.
I did.
That makes people go down. But you got yourself out and you took responsibility. What was it in you that triggered?
I just thought it was all over. You know, I didn't think I'd ever play again. There was that point. I'd been that long before I'd played a show. You know, I'd usually play 25 shows a week. You know, like when I'm working, if I'm working like in summer, I'm doing like, 3 shows a day, sometimes 5 on the weekend, you know, but this is before COVID. So this is when I was a little bit younger. I had a little bit more raw, young energy, and I'd just be
You're in the
out there
slipstream going.
and just practicing. And the more I play, the better I get, and the more money I'd make, which meant the more I could travel and the more I could put into equipment.
And you're just cycling it back in all the time.
Yeah. So like we're going to Edinburgh Fringe Festival and selling like 1,400 CDs in 3 weeks. And on top of that, it's tips, so we're talking like 20,000 euros in 3 weeks. Wow. But it would cost me 15,000 euros to do it. And then
it's hard labor. I mean, you're getting out of it, but I mean, you're investing everything spiritually and financially to be able to do it.
But people would pump you up, you know, like you're constantly meeting new people. All this positive energy comes towards you. Everyone thinks you're great, and it's like, I don't personally think that about myself at all, but I feel that people appreciate how much I've put into it.
But you must be aware that you're a channel, because you get to know that about yourself as an artist. You obviously know that you're channeling something, and that's...
It's nice to see people happy, you know, and that's what makes me happy, and it's like what brings good energy towards me. You know, I meet all my friends through music, you know, like all these beautiful creative people in Berlin, you know, like I've just... A lot of it comes from Malwa Park, you know, like all these great people just constantly supporting, and then every week I play Malwa Park, it's more people every time, you know, they come and just to see me play and things like that, which is really nice.
Dude, and so going back, when you took responsibility to claw yourself out of this terrible suicidal space you got into, how did you manage to do it? Because when you get to that precipice and you're really fearing you might go over, and I've known this type of space at least myself, and people can go either way in this space. And like, what do you think it was that made you, when you got to that crossroads where you could go this way or that way, you took responsibility and you got yourself up and you quit the drink, and something obviously old and healthy or something happened in you? Like, how would you describe that moment? Can you think about it or remember it? Is there something?
I think what made me so depressed at the time was, I couldn't get my fix of playing live. I couldn't do my job anymore. I couldn't entertain people, and that's what makes me happy, and that's what every time I get off stage or I've done a show, that's why I'm happy. I'm exhilarated every time. So I was really like, am I going to ever do that again?
But that was what you lost, and that was the deprivation. But what was it that pulled you out? Like, what I mean is, would you say it was as simple as that moment of synchronicity with Amistad?
Yeah, it was the moment that I had something to look forward to.
Really? So in a way, Amistad saved your life.
They did, yeah. They actually did, yeah, because I thought, as soon as I got that email coming through, I was like, I have something to look forward to again, because I was always, I was toured with UB40 in Australia.
Yeah,
I toured with Tash. I toured with a bunch of sick artists, and I was always had something to look forward to. I was looking forward to next summer in Europe. I was looking for a tour in America. I was going to Canada. I was doing New Zealand tours. I was doing Australian tours. Always had something to look forward to. But for those 2.5 years, it was just...
It was that long, 2.5 years.
Constant media just... Oh, you're going to die if you go outside, like this conditioning. It was quite full on in New Zealand, actually.
Well, I mean, death felt like it was on everyone's doorstep, and terribly it was for many people. And what a time on every level. I just think you sort of look back and you think about all the people that passed, the people who got long COVID. You think about the people who had livelihoods destroyed, and people have lasting mental health issues, and thank God. But one thing I want to just take away from this and just check in with is, and to say it really clearly, is people forget what an impact something small that they do can have on another life. And what Amistad did in that moment was a singular transformational moment in your life, literally saving your life. And the thing is, the paradox is that to them, you're their mate, they're in the van, and they're just doing that simple thing of, it's second nature, we're going to pass it over and we'll leave it to the gods, and if you get lucky, that's cool. But what I mean is that sometimes, when we get down on ourselves or whatever, or sometimes in certain, communities or niches, people can be kind of quite holding on, trying to keep a pie to themselves, and they won't pass on that connection or that live and let live attitude. And the thing is, that small thing changed a life. And I bet, I can't even begin to think, because I know the power of music and I know how people react to your music, how many lives have been affected, changed, even saved since that moment. And that, just what a thing. And sometimes when I have it, about a year and a half ago, I sort of really strongly thought about sort of deleting social media. I was disaffected with it. I thought, wow, so many people are pumping out so much toxicity and negativity out in the world. And I thought, right, I'm going to get rid of this. And then I thought, no, the problem that I've got is actually not about deleting. It's about being in this grey zone where I'm not engaging with it, but I know that I should because I'm an artist. And yet I can't commit to it and actually start really sort of using it. And I thought, right, I'm going to take control of my attitude to this situation, and I'm going to start using it, and I'm going to start actually sort of using this maturity and this moment, my adulthood, this maturity at this point in my life, to try and put something positive into the world, and to actually kind of like have some agency with it. And it was just that trigger of changing that made a massive difference to me. But the reason that I think about it is it's, you know, like every other person in the arts, I wake up some days and it's a damn hard day, and you're like, where the fuck is my motivation going to come from? And someone will write a message saying, what you posted on this subject really has done a massive thing for me, or it's really affecting my thing. And what they don't realize is that that small thing in giving back is triggering the circle. The circle's never something static. It needs to keep going around. And I just find it such a moving story, man.
Yeah, it's, I mean, just playing every day. I mean, like, I like to play, you know, 5 times a week if I can, because that makes it, when I do the gigs, you know, when I play on the street, I always sound the same. So the sound system sounds exactly the same. And I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to sound check. I don't have to be like, hey, what time do you need me at the venue? When sound check? Blah, blah. I just go drop my stuff, put my CDs out, I start playing. And it's so no admin. It's just straight music, you know, and like when you go to a sound check, well, the sound system might suck, or the sound guy might be an arsehole, or blah, blah, blah. There's so many contributing
struggle
factors.
To get people into the venue as well.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. And it's just, it keeps me playing at a very high level. So like if I only play once a week, I'm not as good as if I play 5 times a week. You know, you get this extra level, 11 out of 10. You know, like you've got the sparkle, you know, everything's so good. Like I'm doing stuff on trombone that I can't do if I don't play five times a week. So like you've just got to keep everything super highly practiced for when you do the big stuff, that you seem like a superhero.
Oh man, and I mean that's the thing, that this I think that's the reward of such commitment. It's just the sheer level of expertise, like you said earlier, where you're literally just a vehicle for what's coming through you, and the music is just there and you can concentrate on it. And I mean, it's something that I struggle with at this point in my life, because it's kind of like the opposite for me. I was like for years and years and years, like full on, absolutely in, and then certain stuff changed. It was I was on a major, EMI got sucked in by Universal, and it was like, oh damn. And so then I was like, okay, well I've got my camera and I'm loving the documentary side, and I was hungry for the world, so I went out and I toured a lot in the world, but I also then kind of got really interested in other people's stories and societal issues and cultural issues. And so the music started taking a different place in my life, but it was always as important to me sort of in my heart, especially with the songwriting side. But the thing is, at this point, it's quite interesting. I mean, I went on tour in October and it was an absolute blast and I absolutely loved it. But, you know, it's just a different thing when you're not doing that thing 5 times a day. It comes through you in a different vehicle. And so for me, it's like, you know, it kind of like makes my heart go, because there's still that part of me where it's, I mean, I'm at peace with where I'm at, but it's like my musical heart has not gone anywhere. It's in exactly the same place, and I still, you know, I still write ideas like every single day, and it's still like super important to me, and it's non-negotiable. You know, it's like it's in the heart. But in my life, I sort of wonder when and how will I get back to that path, because I also see it like you see it, as in you need to live it. I think you can live it in different ways for the songwriting to come. It's never affected my ability to write a song, but in terms of that pure capacity to be within the process of improvement live, and that oneness that you can get, it does affect that side, and it's something that you kind of get a little bit more detached to, even if you learn in different ways and you can bring in new stuff. But oh man, it just makes my heart go bomb, 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 thinking of playing every day like you do, you know?
It just makes it feel, it's much more, makes me feel more fulfilled if I'm playing at that high level. Otherwise I feel like I'm not as good as I usually am, so I can just tell that I've lost the sparkle, you know? And I just need to get back out. I need to stop being so lazy, you know? I'm like my own boss, so like,
so you're tough on yourself?
Yeah, well, I push myself to do it, you know, like when it's summer and I know the months and I know what I have to do, I would just have to get out there and do it, you know, and I've got it down to a thing where my equipment's really easy to set up. It's easy to pack down. The whole busking rig is a form of transportation, and that this year has really taken a big step forward with making the rig a form of transportation. So I don't have to push it anymore. I ride it. So it's like that really was a big step up when it did
sounds
that.
like it just, and so that's interesting. That's like the logistical step has been a massive change for you.
Yeah, I think the main thing is I have the busking that I always enjoy, you know. I'm always enjoying it, but sometimes it's hard, man. I'm dealing with crazy people out there sometimes. I've got dance music. I'm playing dance music. So like sometimes I'm creating a show where there's a semicircle, and I'm trying to keep people out of the semicircle, you know, like, because this is where I'm doing the show. But a lot of sometimes drunk people will come in, ruin it, drag their friends in and stuff like that, and people will look at me, and if I say, hey guys, would you mind just please just doing it to the side? Just not in the circles where I'm doing my show, yeah? And then everyone says, oh no, you don't want people to dance, you don't want people to enjoy themselves. It's like, no, actually, I need people to focus on the music, you know? And I want them to have fun and dance and stuff, but like, just not in here. And people coming in and just kind of, they want to be the center of attention, and that's why I'm trying to like really politely control that.
And for them, I guess it's part of the fun, you know, to step into the circle. You know?
But it's like I've nurtured that space to be a place where I perform my songs. I get my show up to a certain point where I'm happy with it, and then I finish it, and then people come and buy my CDs because they want. But if that one person comes in and takes their focus, snaps them out of the focus, and what's then all of a sudden like, I'm trying to like say, man, can you just do that over there, please? And then they are obnoxious or abusive or trying to physically attack me.
What's the worst memory you have?
There's lots. There's lots.
Oh, dude.
Look, it's 99.9%. It's great, but like there's the odd time where it's like I'm dealing with scary humans out there, you know, like people on drugs, people drunk, you know, people want to rob me, you know. I'm sitting out there with 15 grand's worth of equipment, sometimes alone, you know, sometimes I'm just there on my own, or sometimes I've got friends with me, but like, you know, it's when you're out there with all your precious
your livelihood depends on that gear.
And if someone comes in and says, oh, can I take the mic? Say, no, sorry, bro. Like, I'm trying to just like keep everything, you know, under control, because like not only am I just performing, I'm doing security. You know, I'm throwing motherfuckers out of there.
God,
you know,
don't even
like
think of it like
it's
that.
Like I've had physical altercations with people out there. You know, it's not like. The thing about me is that I have the option to busk. I can make money with that. I can just do that. But now I've got a beautiful balance between touring, festivals. I've got like corporate representation, which they put me in some really amazing places, and places where I'm going to Hungary, I'm going to Northern Italy next week. It's like they put me there, but I've always got the busking.
But that can also, I mean, just help so much. The camera has just gone off.
Reset.
Yeah, it's just overheated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this beast around, and we are just going to let the show keep on rolling. All right. So this one's going to go over here, and this one will go over here. So you're super wide now, bro. And I'll just leave that here for 5 minutes while I'll just leave that here like that. And the show must go on, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing will stop Reuben Stone. But can you remember like one story in particular where, you know, something particularly beastly happened?
Oh, yeah.
Like it was the one thing, like, I mean, I'm a sucker for punishment, man. I want to know something grisly.
Melbourne has some pretty rough individuals on the street out there.
In Melbourne was actually
it's a big kind of crystal meth scene, you know, out there, and sometimes these people just attracted towards you, you know, like somehow. There's lots of stuff. Like my girlfriend used to be out there with me selling my CDs and things like that, and then people would kind of be doing creepy stuff to her and stuff. Like when she's standing there, I had a guy coming like going like this to her, like on the street, and I said, mate, you can't do that. And then he kept doing it, and he was like big guy, you know, like big drunk, toothless guy, you know, and I just went up to him. I said, man, don't you ever fucking say that to my girlfriend, you know. And then I just pushed him over on the street, and he fell over on the street, and then he came at me and he kicked all my equipment over, and then all my stuff's getting broken, and I've got this guy, and I'm just like got my thing around his head, and I'm choking him on the street and like trying to restrain him, and he's like twice the size of me, but he's also inebriated, so he was kind of like just flailing around, but like this is just one.
But you've also got to deal with, after you've detained him, your gear is still there, 15k worth of gear, and you have no idea what this loon's going to do.
Yeah, but there's other times where I've been like robbed, say like I'm playing and like I've got money in the case, so there's maybe 50, $100 in the case or something in cash or whatever, and someone just will come past, just like grab it and just start running, you know, and then what do? Do you chase them, or you just let them run with it? You know, this has happened a few times.
Because you've got a choice between 1.5 that they're running off with and leaving the 15k behind.
Yeah. But mainly the thing that sparks it is when I tell people to get out of my circle, you know, out of my stage area where I've created for me to do my thing. People think they can come in and just, you know, have their back to me and be looking at my crowd, you know. I don't put up with it.
Yeah, wow.
You know, it's like it's
so interesting.
It's a street thing, you know.
Yeah.
But like I don't like that. Yeah. You know, I like to be out there and have no problems with my show. Finish my show, and then I can just look forward to doing another one. Yeah. But like sometimes, you know, I had one terrible thing that happened. Actually, in January, I was in Queenstown. And I'd been busking a lot, and I'd just done that 60-day tour of Europe, and I'd just started doing another summer directly after it, so in Australia and New Zealand. And this old lady came, she dragged all these kids into the circle. Yeah, the kids are dancing, it's all cool. And then like everyone just starts putting their children into the circle, and it just kind of became like this like kindergarten thing happening. And I said, look guys, I've been waiting here all day to the show. Would you mind just taking your children out, please? And then this lady's like coming in and like dancing, which is fine. It's absolutely fine, but only for a certain amount of time before it starts, as I said before, taking the focus off the music. And if people start looking at these dance moves. So this lady, I said to her, hey, please, would you mind please just dancing with the kids to the side? Because like I'm going to do a backflip soon. and things are going to get a bit crazy in here. Yeah. And then she just kind of ignored me, and I said, look lady, please, I'm stressed. I'm probably overreacting, but going, please, you're ruining my show. She just didn't get it. And then she like left, and then all the kid ran back in, and then everyone's applauding for the kid, coming back in and being like, giving me like the fingers or whatever. Oh, God. And then everyone starts booing me. Oh, no! And then I'm the bad guy. Because you're being
a spoil sport.
I'm trying to stop people having fun, but I'm just saying, please have fun over there. Oh. Not like don't have fun, just don't do it right there, you know, because this is where I'm doing my show.
But it's sorry, go ahead.
And then after this, I'm sitting packing my stuff, and it was the worst show of my life. Horrible. And then these two burly guys come up to me, they go, hey man, what the fuck did you say to my grandma? And I'm going, look man, I was just asking her politely to please dance to the side with the kids, because I'm like doing some crazy stuff out here, you know? And then they're saying, bro, he's red in the face and he's ready to just smack me over. And I just explained to them, look, man, I didn't want her to be there, so I had to tell her that she had to go. You know, and she was like, it's her birthday. It's her birthday, and she's crying.
Oh, dude.
But look, this is the point where I'm kind of at that.
I mean, the thing is that sometimes human communication just goes so wrong. I mean, you know, it's like, and it's such a paradoxical thing, because, you know, you're trying to create this sort of essentially sacred space around this space that you're creating your life and your existence around. And it's just a paradox that in trying to create this perfect curation of an experience, that life will sometimes just have other plans, and that which you cannot control will enter the building.
It's when everyone turns against you at once.
Oh, that's
so you've created the crowd, and then all of a sudden everyone's against you, and you're going. And this was a moment in January where I thought, I'm done. You know, I'm taking time off. I can't do this anymore. I'd literally have the end of my tether with it. When that kind of situation happened with those two dudes wanted to beat me up because I made their grandma cry, I was like, mate, I'm just out here like playing music. This is my job. Like,
Well, this is one of the things in life, is that shit stuff happens.
Yeah.
And the paradox is that sometimes the shittiest stuff happens out of the best intention.
Yes,
and
that's right.
And I think, because it's interesting that I noticed as you told those two stories, the one, when you're essentially you're trying to protect your girlfriend and getting yourself in a potentially life-threatening situation as a result of it. But the one that you look even sadder about was the one where it was just this society of human miscommunication, because it's a slightly different thing than almost a situation that you expect when some asshole comes across. I mean, it's so terrible that such things exist, but this is the world we live in. But I can really empathize that, because you're just there and you're just trying to do your best. And then all the wires are crossed on every single level, and it's just heartbreaking.
It's one thing that kind of it's triggering. It's like it's a PTSD thing. It's happened that many times, and I've tried to control it that many times that it's when people come in and they turn their back to me and they're dancing and doing their moves or whatever they're doing, but like in a kind of disrespectful way. Like I had a guy dancing in my show yesterday outside the carnival, and he was super chill, and he didn't make me angry, and he didn't make me want to kick him out, because he was just super respectful about it.
So you're feeding off the attitude more than anything
people,
else.
If they're self-entitled, they're entitled enough to. They're self-entitled that they think they can just take my show and make it their own. I guess it is a little bit of controlling, but.
Well, I mean,
it's my job, so I want to. That could be the difference between $400 and $100.
Yeah, but it's what you feel about your space, and it's your values coming out, and you're adapting and trying to learn all the time. And I mean, this is one of the things that I take away from it as an idea is that. You're a guy who's gone out and done your 10,000 hours, muscling it out day by day.
Correct.
But even with this level of passion and love and expertise and commitment and motivation, even you, Reuben Stone, in this situation, cannot predict what life will choose to do sometimes. And for me, there's a lesson in that, because it's so easy when things are going well, or you think you're developing a certain amount of expertise or skill, to start going, I've got this thing, life, and I'm in control of it, and I can do it, and it's flowing, and then just for a moment, you think that's how life's going to be and how it is. And of course you can affect the parameters of life by getting highly skilled, working on yourself, spiritually developing, all of these different things. But at the last, it's not us who's in control.
No.
Life determines to do what life will determine to do.
You need a psychology degree to do this job. You can take a band and put them on the street. Doesn't make them street performers, There's just the band playing on the street, but there's a whole lot that goes along with playing on the street that most people they wouldn't know. That it's super intense sometimes, and super quite life-threatening actually. There's crazy people out there. There's and there's a lot of police interaction. There's a lot of council interaction with people saying, no amplifiers.
Yeah, someone just got his amplifier detained and taken away from him the other day. I saw on the street.
I mean, that's never happened to me before. And look, I'm pretty loud and pretty, but it's all about how you deal with these.
Grooving to the music, Reuben. Is that why?
They do, It's all about how you deal with these people as well. You can't argue with police. You can't argue with any sort of government agency that wants you to stop. You just say, sweet, I'm stopping, I'm picking up, I'm going, and that's fine, and usually that's fine. But if you argue and say no, blah blah blah, they'll just take it. But that's not happened to me before.
So look, man, what about creative process? I'm going to hope this camera doesn't overheat again. It will, because life is in control, brother. So what about creative process? What's your creative process for for writing a song?
I have songbooks that I write a lot, and I just keep the books. And then
so you're journaling first. You're writing lyrics and stuff first.
Yeah, a lot of the time I'm writing lyrics and then putting it to music. So separately, so I can write better lyrics when I'm not getting distracted by chord progressions and guitar playing.
But is that exclusively what happens? Like, because often when I write, like, I will sit down and I will howl because it's a kind of, when I play, there's a sort of old loss in me, if you like, and it goes right back and early, and it often does come, I guess, from there's a degree of access to old suffering, and it kind of comes up. I mean, I wish it wasn't so, but it comes up. It's just how it is. But so often, like my titles, for instance, will come out of the process of howling. Now, with you, do you ever do that, or is it really from the written word that you write mainly?
Well, I write a lot of folk music as well, like because I just like fingerstyle guitar playing. I've got enough for a couple of albums of folk music. But,
to come?
Yeah, I've got it there. It's all there. It's been there for years. I just never released it because, I'm releasing a certain thing.
No, man, you've got to get that out. I would love, because the thing is, one of the things in meeting you, it's like sitting down, and of course you have the preconceptions because you've got the guy and he's smashing it on the street, and Reuben Stone is out and he's in the Alps and he's got the sunglasses on, he's dressed in a suit. And then you come and you look you in the eye and you get a totally different measure of a person, and it's like, okay, I can see the life that's been lived in there and where it comes from. And the reason why I get so excited about the idea of the folk music in you is because I can see the folk musician in you. Yeah, literally, I can see it.
First of all, I'm a guitar player. I'm a trained guitar player. I've been playing over 20 years on guitar. And if I pick up a trombone, I'm not really trained. I've been taught how to play guitar like by professionals. So like I can session guitar for anyone really. But also it's kind of bores me a little bit. So I keep kind of changing instruments and stuff. But like I can. Definitely, if I was these days, like when I'm not writing folk or I would make loops in my loop station, and I would make something perfect inside the loop station, and then I'd export what's in the loop station, put it into Ableton, and then rebuild the loop in Ableton. Yeah, so I'd record it to a tempo that I want, 120, 122 or whatever. And then I record, so then I make one loop, and then I save that patch, and I make another patch.
But you're not actually using the patch on the final recording, you're just using that as a writing tool, are you? Or are you
yes, they're in there,
Or are you sampling yourself?
I'm sampling, I'm making a bridge, I'm making a verse, and I'm making a chorus, all to the same drum beat, but on 3 separate patches. So I have a chord progression, and I'm doing it all on the loop station, so I'm not looking at any computers, I'm not getting distracted by computer problems.
It's pure creativity. That's a great lesson.
And this is what I work on here as the medium, as the loop station, and then I export and import, and then I build the 3 different sections up, and then I overdub, and then I get it to a point. With arrangement, so I'm happy with the arrangement, and then I send it to a mix engineer, and then he starts doing whatever he does.
So you're recording it all yourself then?
Yeah, I record.
Do you go to studios sometimes?
Yeah, like my new song that's about to come out, 777.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yes, baby!
Yeah, tomorrow, yeah.
What's it called?
It's 777.
777, yeah, nice.
I've been working on it for years. Since 2004.
Are we going to get an acoustic version?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We can do that.
Yeah.
I wrote the chorus maybe 2014, but I wrote the verse in December.
Amazing.
So I was like, man, I've just written this great verse, and I thought, man, I'm trying to write a chorus. It sucks. And then I just thought, that one I've never used. Yeah. And then it just went bam, and then there's the chorus.
It just journeyed with you over the years, and you had it in there. You must have known it was good even back in the day, though.
Yeah, it was a song I used to play all the time. Yeah, and on my life.
But just as a loop. So just as a loop, and you riff and groove of it, but you never completed it.
I'd released it as a live recording, but not as a studio. And so I rewrote the song and stuff like that. So I would demo, like the way I've demoed. I'd get the arrangements, and then I'd go to Nick Herrera in the Grove Studios in Melbourne. And he's got a beautiful studio, and then we do tracking there over top, record live drums, record bass guitar, and I scrap some of the loops that I've also recorded if they're not good.
So you're rebuilding some of it.
It's like a backbone goes through it. So I do a verse, and then I make a chorus, and then I listen to that and I go, I changed the beat, and then I put the bridge or a breakdown or something.
But that's
like
a cool creative process, because you're actually liberating yourself from what it necessarily is leading to, which can lead to total different variation. So you've written this verse and it's really exciting, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to take it away from the verse. So rather than like if you're sitting down on an acoustic guitar and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to descend into the A minor from the C or whatever. Yeah. You're literally building blocks, and that's super fun.
But like the thing about this loop station, the RC505 Mark II, is that it's got 99 patches or 100 patches, so I can go spend a day demoing just on that. And do 12 loops and go, what's cool?
What's the best one?
Yeah, and I would do, like when I did my EP, did 65 loops, and then I picked my favourite ones, and then like second favourite, and then ones that were shit.
And then would you literally sometimes just be taking the loops and doing the loops unto themselves, and then going, okay, I can join that and that into this song? Like, with the beat, like, would you have literally sometimes a sense of randomness about, oh, loop 35 could go with loop 82, maybe I could try putting those together? Or would you have, oh no, I've got that idea for that song, I need to keep in that key, like, or is there kind of like also this thing of literally just seeing what works and letting it evolve out of itself? Or?
There's just a big time of importing, exporting, coming out of the loop station. So when I did that Mountain Climber record, which is my most popular, that I've sold 25,000 copies of, is I did 65 loops and I picked basically 1 in 10 was decent, so a good song, and then I obviously wrote lyrics to those, and then it was just like building up from that, and then we went to this recording studio and recorded on the Neve desk and the Neve console and stuff like that, and that was expensive, it was like $900 a day for the studio, it was 300 for the engineers or more or something.
People don't realise how much you can build up making this stuff,
and then you've got like all these other costs of getting printing done.
And blinking, and it's 5K. Blinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you talk vinyl pressing, so okay, you're smashing out at 2K or something there. And then Gamer come and charge you for printing up a record. It's like, hold on, what?
Yeah.
I'm the artist, man.
I always find lyrics are the hardest part for me, actually. Instruments and stuff like that, it comes quite naturally to me, but like a little bit dyslexic, I didn't really listen at school much, my vocabulary is not that flash, but I've always tried to focus on the lyrics, and that's why I try not to play two things at once, I'm trying to write engaging lyrics that aren't the same as my old ones, or in the same sort of but accidentally saying the same thing twice.
Well, that's always a sign of like a purist artist who's, but I found your lyrics really imaginative, the ones you sent over, and I was like, oh yeah, it's really cool, like word plays and twists, and also like I love the way that there are colours of your life that you really feel about, from the street and your cosmology and all this type of stuff, man.
I take a lot of inspiration from. I live a strange life, man. Like the stuff that I do is like not many people are as lucky as me, to be able to not have a boss. I haven't worked a normal job since 2006.
Well, but the paradox, Reuben, is I always say to my friends, it's like, I don't know anyone in any other profession who works as hard as musicians, who are really gutting it out. And I mean it. I know lawyers and accountants and people in events and in film and stuff. And it's like, well, it's like with film work, it's like, well, you die for 90 days. Like my sister's a film producer, and then of course, it's always on, running her own company. It's absolutely amazing. But what I mean, when I look at someone like you or Dean, like from the street scene, and it's like, man, the non-stop commitment day after day, and it's just, I don't know, I just find it a marvel.
It's just inspiring when you get all the good energy coming your way, and it's like, look, it's going to be tough, but most of the time it's not. It's just playing music and having a bloody good time.
But look, man,
with your mates,
But I see that there's this aspect in you where, I've just met you, so you can tell me if I'm off on the wrong path. But you seem to also, like, you have a profound sense of discipline. It seems to me you give yourself a bit of a hard time as well, like if you take a break. Would that be a fair thing to say, or am I like going up the wrong tree?
I push as hard as I can until I break. And then I go, I need to stop, man. Something's not right.
What is it in you that pushes you so hard? Is because
I'm chasing my tail somewhere.
Because what I mean, man, is that it feels to me like there's a part that comes from that mad eccentric love of the music and the people and the performance, and then it's. I mean, the reason I'm asking you about this, I really relate to it, and it's something that I've been sort of working on a lot myself over the years. Is okay. First of all, being in the arts, there is no choice unless you are one of those people that goes super successful. You have to grind it out day by day, year by year, dark room by dark room, street stage by street stage, and that's just the reality. And then there's also this kind of Calvinistic thing, you know, like lashing yourself, like, you know, I mean, I work obscenely hard and basically juggling kind of 3 separate careers. One is as a creative and as a musician, one's a freelance filmmaker and photographer, and the other one is setting up some businesses that I'm working on, and then fitting stuff like the podcast in on the side. And it's not necessary to do it all, but something in me drives me to do it. Yeah. And you know, and it's so I always notice it when people have this kind of profound work ethic, that there's something beautiful and extraordinary and powerful, but then it's also there's this mysterious part that comes from the underworld and Hades and some darker element, you know, that causes you to break. And it's like, what happens when you break, man?
It's tiring. It's just tiring, and it's burnout. It's burnout. Like I've burnt out like multiple times, you know, like got to the point where I don't really like it anymore, and I'm thinking like.
But you're taking care of it, bro, because it feels like you're still doing.
Yeah, I mean the street's fun. Like the street is like.
Yeah, but fun isn't a compensation for serial burning out.
No, I know. Like it's just how hard can you go? How many times, how far can you drive and then play a gig, you know?
So you're a sucker for punishment as well, like...
Well, I mean, it's... If you do what you love for a job, you never work a day in your life, you know? It's... For me, it's like, if I go out and I've got no money in my wallet and I come home with 500 or 600 in my pocket, and I've just had a fun time, I've met all these beautiful people, and now everyone wants to be my mate. Yeah. Like, it's really nice.
I get that, man, but do you manage that part of yourself? You've been to the edge, you've been to the precipice, and the last time you went over the precipice, you got caught by an angel. What happens if you keep going to that precipice and the angel doesn't come next time? Like, what I mean is, like, you know, are you looking in on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 34 now, so like I feel like a little bit tired, a little bit quicker, I don't recover as well. But also like now I've got a bit more freedom, you know, because I have
your career's developing and stuff.
Whenever I do it, I don't have to slog as hard because I'm good at my job, so like I don't have to work.
But I guess the other side of it as well is that, you know, with getting the occasional corporate gig, that can bring in serious money for little work. And I think that's a fantastic thing when you know someone's career gets to the point where they can bring in that type of gig. But principally because you've obviously got no problem with work ethic, but you need to be able to take a break, because if you go at that same pace, so you're 50, that precipice will get steeper.
I mean, I've looked at it now, and I've just applied for my freelance visa in Germany, so like I want to be here for 9 months. I want to be on holiday completely for a month and
plan it in.
So it's like 9 months in Europe, 3 months and 2 months in New Zealand with my family.
Lovely.
Chilling out, going fishing and going into the bush and just living on the land a bit, you know, and just not being in the cities and stuff like that. But 9 months, I want to work as hard as I can, and then maybe go like to Bali or Asia, chill out and just have a month off, and then go home, maybe do a couple of gigs, you know, at home, because I still
keep in with it a little bit.
I still have a good following in Australia and New Zealand. You know, I can go. I reckon if I go back this year, I can do a headline in Melbourne on the way through.
Well, people love the boy coming home.
Just 3 shows. Well, you know, like if you look on my Spotify, most of it's Melbourne.
Is it?
New Zealand is most of my Spotify listeners.
Well, you might even surprise yourself that you've gone to a whole new level since you went away.
Yeah, I did. I think New Zealand and Australia are still recovering from the COVID thing, because
in terms of getting out for gigs and so on.
Just the whole economy coming back and being anywhere near what it was before, you know. And this is 2019. It's like coming back. It's like, oh, it's not quite back. You know, I come from doing shows here in Europe, and I went to play on the street in Australia for 5 weeks, and it was hell. It was like not fun. I couldn't get a crowd. I was battling against it. There was no energy coming my way, so how was I supposed to give it back? And that's when I worked, and then went to New Zealand, and then that strange situation with the grandma crying on her birthday happened. And then that was the moment where I thought, I'm done with this. I've hit the wall. I've done what I can. I've done over 300 shows this year.
300 shows in a year,
if you
day by day as well, factor it in.
The street shows and session work that I was doing for other artists in Europe, you look at it and it's like, that's why you're feeling like that. You know, that's why.
Not rocket
it's
science.
not like, it's just that time where you go, yeah, I've done what I can, and I just need to just like do a little bit of self-love. Self-love, do some meditation,
with that.
breathing and things like that.
Yeah, well, keep with it, because it is, forgive the cliche, but it is the marathon. It is the marathon, and the thing is I mean, it makes me really happy to hear that you're factoring it in, because I know certain people, and I really mean this, people who have gone off the edge, who know that side. And the thing is that factoring in family and fishing and hiking, and I will take that time in the year off. That is a form of salvation for people who know that edge. Yeah,
there's nothing more that I like than riding my motorbike down the beach, you know, and just full bore, you know, 9 a.m, my fishing rod, going fishing. It's just like, this is what I love. Like my dad likes hanging out on the beach, and we're always into this kind of things, and eating a lot of seafood, and just...
I just love, I'm like Reuben chilling out, and then I just see Reuben topless on the beach, on the motorcycle with the fishing rod, shades on.
Full
it's
bogan,
like Reuben Stone, ladies and gentlemen.
Full New Zealand bogan, for like 2 months again.
God, man, I love it too. Well, look, man, we're going to wrap up soon, but I just want to kind of like go through a couple of other, a quick blast through a couple of questions that I missed out so far. Just 'cause it was so nice just to be so organic about it, but just to get a quick reaction stuff, and then if you're cool to play a song, I think people would love that. So what was it like you toured with UB40, like how big were the shows? Like just give us a colour sense.
UB40 I was signed to an agency in Australia for about 3 or 4 years, and it was 3 dates. It was 2 nights in More Theatre, which is 5,000 cap each, sold out.
Man.
And then it was Hamer Hall, which is in Melbourne, which is like a 3-tier, 3,000 cap theatre. And then it was Fremantle Arts Centre in Perth, which was about 5,000, sold out too.
Man.
So like this is, you know, I'm still doing street shows while I'm doing all of this, you know, but like when I get up there, I can do it. I don't even have to think, you know, because I've done this set that many times where when I'm in moments like that where I've got like that many people in front of me, I'm starting to do stuff that I've never done before, you know, because of this energy coming towards me, you know. That's when I feel like I really start breaking boundaries, is when I've got the crowd that are giving me what I need to go to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing the opposite.
And you feel the peace even amongst the first time before 5,000 people, those hours that you put in, you feel it manifesting in that moment. 500,
5,000, I don't do any different, you know, as long as the people are giving me the love, and I can give it back, you know. And if people are mostly doing that, you know, like I said, in Australia, I felt like the crowds were just looking at me like I was just like an animal in a zoo, and I was feeling really drained at the end of the day. I wasn't feeling like, oh, that was fun. I was thinking that sucked, and I was like, I have to do it again tomorrow. And I did it again tomorrow, and it sucked tomorrow.
Oh, dude.
You know, it's just like this thing.
Well, sometimes you just get on a bad run with stuff, and you're factoring in like global pandemics and this type of stuff, and people kind of getting worried about
cashless society as well.
So do you have one of those PayPal?
Yeah, I do have it, but I didn't have it in Australia. I mean, like Melbourne is pretty much cashless, so I was struggling financially because I was trying to save money for the Switzerland tour, which was going to be expensive.
Dude, oh man, tell me about it. I was on tour in Switzerland and supporting a big band, you know, some pretty big shows. They were like up to 5,000 people. Wonderful time. We were on our own nightliner, and said to the guys, all right, come on, everyone out. We got a night off. I'm taking you all out to supper. Went out. We, you know, got just the beers were flowing. And when the bill came, I was crying.
Yeah.
I mean, at least metaphorically. I mean, you know, you want to make sure that your team is like having the best night, you know, on their day off, but you don't want to do it in Switzerland.
And when you're burnt out and you've got a specific financial goal that you're trying to work towards, and it's not going right, and every show you play, you're like, can't believe that I used to play shows here and do 35 CDs a set every time, not even thinking about it. You know, I make over 1,000 a day and not even blink an eye, you know, like just go, wow. But this time it was like, whoa, $30, you know, no CDs, do 4 or 5 sets in a row and I sell 5, 6 CDs. So I'm comparing it to what it used to be like to when it is, and everything seems much harder. And I'm going, look, shit, I'm burnt out before I'd even made that financial
So what is
goal.
it like at the moment, with the sales? Like, is it getting... I mean, obviously I can't imagine it'll ever be like 2015, but like, is it still okay?
It's weird. Sometimes I do like 20 CD sets, but most of the time it's like 5. 3 to 5, but I've just had to restructure it. You know, I can't. I used to sell them for 10 each, but now I'm just doing two for 10. So you get both copies. More people get CDs, and people are more happy with a bargain. You know, they think they're getting a bargain, and I just make jokes about, you know, the CDs. You know, you can use them as a frisbee. You know, you can use them as a coasters. You know, I'm sure your grandmother's still got a CD player. Blah blah blah. You know, and it's just
what you think that grandma wants to listen to your music?
Yeah, she's still got a CD player at least.
No, the one who was.
Oh no! Yeah, I gave them a CD.
I bet you did. Reuben.
No, but before.
Yeah.
And then they screwed it up.
Oh no!
And they threw it back in my.
Don't tell me I can't take it. I can't take it. Oh man. So look, man. Burning Man. Tell us about Burning Man quickly.
Oh yeah. So I was in America. I won a trip to America. I won a band competition in Melbourne in 2014, and the first prize was a trip to the States to do a tour in Southern Oregon, and the band from America came over and toured in Australia. So I went there and I did the tour. I bought a van for $500, and then I was like, okay, I've got 3 months, so I'll just cruise up the coast and see who's there. And then I saw on my Facebook page, I was like, oh, my friend Shane's in Seattle, and I was heading north, and then he was with his friend from Australia as well, and I was like, met up with Shane, and we were just chilling, and we partied, and then they were like, oh, we're going to Shambhala festival in Canada tomorrow. Do you want to drive us? And I said, sure. So we got in the van, and we started drove to Selma, BC, and then the guy had like a psychosis that... drug psychosis, and he couldn't go to Burning Man, so he was like, okay Shane, here's 10 flights over Burning Man, you can just give them to people when you're there. And we dropped him back in Seattle, and then he gave Shane $5,000 randomly because he was like losing the plot. He gave him $5,000, and we were like, sweet, we're off. And then we just went to Burning Man. I met some friends from New Zealand there, and we had a camp, and I played, they gave me a free ticket. They invited me, so I played in the Dome. I just played some shows in the Dome.
How'd it go?
It was great. I just bought my speaker, just busking style, and then 2 years later I went again in 2016, but I was in a different camp.
Playing again?
Yep, playing again, but this was in one of like the Esplanade, on the Esplanade where the stages are big, fire coming out of them, and line array PA system. And so I played there, and my job was just to do like a few shows over the week.
So that was an invitation that time?
Yeah.
So awesome.
So my friend Shane was there as well, and he used to tour around with me in Australia and in Europe. So we used to go to France and do a festival in Avignon, and then we'd go to Amsterdam, Brussels, buskell through there, and then go to London, and then up to Edinburgh for the Fringe. And after that we flew from Edinburgh straight to Burning Man, and we did the second burn, which was insane. And then I played this one set on the Saturday, which was when the man burns, and I played on the stage there. It was none of the DJs showed up who were supposed to play,
Well, they had Reuben Stone.
Yeah, I was there, and they just kept saying more.
Really?
And I did a 5-hour set.
5-hour set?
5-hour set, yeah.
On the prime time night?
Yeah, just, it was daytime, actually. Yeah, it was a day set thing. So I just kept playing, and yeah, that was cool. And then, yeah, I flew back to Europe and did some more touring, and then actually...
What experience at Burning Man?
I've got a pretty strong connection to the Burning Man thing, you know, like my friend Shane actually, he passed away in 2019 at Burning Man. So he was like my best friend, and he had a tragic accident there. He was just sleeping in his van, and someone started a generator like next to his van, and he had the air conditioning on, and the air conditioning dragged all the fumes into the car, and then someone found him later on that evening. Yeah. So that was 2019, which was just before COVID.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Late 2018, actually, just before COVID. And my life really changed with that. And then after that, COVID after that, and then into the downward spiral over the 3 years after losing Shane,
Oh, dude.
Yeah, so we'd done a lot of world traveling together and been in lots of freaky situations together. So it was really, really hard for me to lose Shane, you know.
Oh. God, I'm so sorry.
There's all the things that, you know, make you stronger at the end, you know. And
yeah, well, I just
tragic accident.
It's one of those stories that just hits you because, first of all, it's a best friend, and I was so deep in the story and Burning Man and the celebration.
Yeah, and we're partying and things are perfect.
And like, oh God, it's just so tragic. I'm so sorry. And I spent a lot of time in my van as well, so there's also like that, you know, different type of empathy, because you know that these things can happen, and it's just when it's your day, and it's just
But this guy, you know, he was serendipitous, you know, like he was on a roll always, new things, traveling all around the world, like everything. You'd think that if you looked at him, you'd go, man, this dude is just invincible, man. Nothing is ever going to take him down, you know. And then for that to happen, you know, he grew up in the small island that run off generators, you know, in Great Barrier Island in New Zealand. He grew up there, so there was generators. The whole island runs on generators. So, like, how could you be sleeping in a van and, you know, a generator do that, you know? This is the moment where everything in my life, I felt like everything started going downhill for me there, you know, and then COVID soon after that. And then everything going, I'm trying to keep touring, my relationship's falling apart, you know, I've got addictions, I've got like all these things are happening and slowly just going down and down. And it's still like I still think about it now, thinking, I can't believe that happened, you know, to him. Because he was he was almost like a guardian angel, man. Like when I was out in the street, he was a big guy, 6'4". Whenever I'm out with him, he'd always, if anyone was ever trying to do anything bad to me, you know, like ruin the show, or he'd just like kindly just make and move them on. Never had a fight in his life, you know. He was just a gentle giant, but he'd always be able to just get them away, you know. So it was super sad to see him go. But we've tributed a lot to him. You know, there's a festival in Great Barrier Island now for him. Every year they do a festival and donate all the money to the school that has a music program, and it's all really positive in the end. But he went away too early. Yeah.
You'll be looking down, man.
Yeah, the big old Shaney. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sad story.
Yeah. Well, we lose good ones along the way, and it's it never gets easier. You just learn the acceptance that it is as simple as that.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have even gone, because the year before he was in a truck crash on the way back from Burning Man. Like someone fell asleep at the wheel while in the semi truck. The truck that was taking the thing back, and they had a crash. And he showed me the trucks on the side. Everything. This is a big truck, like a U-Haul, big giant U-Haul, and they've had a crash. The guy was on ketamine while driving or something like that. And he ended up getting quite badly hurt that year. So his mum was like, "No, we don't want you to go," you know. No. They were begging him not to go, and then they got the call that he'd passed away out there. So it was kind of like a moment where it's like, wow, no one could have stopped that happening, you know.
No, I mean, this is the thing. Is when it's our day, it is just our day.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just as simple as that. And I had the experience during the pandemic with so many people losing their lives, and especially before the vaccines, where there was this time where it was a clear and present danger. It's like, if you catch this thing and you as far as you're concerned, you catch it, you're gone. At least for a while, that was the perception. And I've found it's lived with me in terms of that kind of contemplation, meditation on death, on mortality. Also, I lost loved ones in my teens. I lost a parent in my teens, and it's always been close to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why, when I see the intensity and the purpose with which you live your path, it's like I understand it, because I have a living sense of its brevity, the shortness of our stay. And I understand why you push yourself to get to that threshold, because you're living as much as you can in the time that you've got, and it's a tribute to life, even if it's a danger to you at the same time.
It's definitely something you've got to think about, if you can just get taken away that easy when you're pretty much invincible, it's pretty weird. But
well, look, man, let's I think what we should I wanted to just sort of, before you play a song, if you were going to give yourself a message 5 years ago, and thereby to other artists, let's say there's an artist who's in a similar space to where you were at, who's on their journey, and something is just blocking them and they're in pain, it's a difficult moment, what advice would you give them, Reuben? What could you say to help them in this moment, connect to some type of hope or the future, or that there might be something good out there for them?
I would say never think it's going to happen overnight, A lot of people think, how long will I have to do this before this happens, whether I get famous or whether I get successful, this might not never happen, you've got to just keep committing. Like you said, grind it out. If you don't grind it out, someone's going to grind harder than you and get your goal, If you want that goal, you've just got to really go out and get it, because it's not going to fall into your lap without, some people it does, but most people have to really battle. And, David Bowie, for example, had bulk albums that were like failures, and he only really started making it big when he kind of took on the American market, He was losing money, David Bowie, and then I think it was when he was in Berlin, actually, he was just starting to, I think he wrote Heroes album in Berlin.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And this album was the one that cracked America, pretty sure. Or was it Let's Dance? I can't remember, but it's just like this sort of thing. It's like a guy like that's been doing it for 25 years, but no one thinks about that. They only see famous David Bowie. They don't see struggling drug addict, junkie David Bowie trying to get somewhere and spending more money on partying than he's making on touring.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks for that message. So your message to that younger person, or that person struggling, is keep on and find your way through it through recommitting.
And make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. You don't want to be playing music because you want to be cool, or you want to pull girls. That's not enough. People see straight through that. It's one of those things where it's like, if you want to play music and you want people to listen to it, you need to write from the heart. You need to give 100% passion and put everything into it. There's no 80%, there's no 90%, it's got to be everything. You've really got to slog it out, and then see what happens. And maybe at the end, if you've slogged until you can't slog anymore, try something else.
Dude, you're pulling my heart out of my chest, reformulating it and putting it back in, bro. Look, man, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's such a blessing to me after everything you've been through.
Thanks, man.
In this life. And I just wish you everything good. And the thing about you on your path is that you're just putting it atom by atom. And it's like, it just feels like you're literally building that bridge over the ocean, and nothing's going to stop you. And it's really inspiring to speak with you.
Yeah.
Now, damn hell, will you play a song for me?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess you never know what's going to happen, so that's what keeps it exciting.
Yeah, right. So I'm just going to grab this. So what song are you playing, Reuben?
I better do the single, yeah?
Yeah, well, as you like, man. It's completely up to you.
It's good promo. I'll do a good little promo. Should I just rip in?
I think just rip it. I'll just take that back a bit, and just in case it gets a bit loud. All right, let's roll this.
Okay. I take my time, I'm living by the wall. In my mind, I stumble and fall. The world is an oyster, the road is an ocean. I'm sitting here drinking this tomato juice potion. Ride the wings of the steel bird. I ride the tracks of the underground earthworm. Hustling, bustling, always trying to do my thing. Rushing and rushing, I'm loving what the music brings. Music is my soul. Music is your soul too. It's power to the mainframe, yeah. Oh, it's power to my brain. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum-boom. Oh shit. The streets, lucky number 7, seventh wave from a brighter dimension. I had no intention to make you feel bad. You know the attention, it made me feel rad. Like 007, I'll die another day. Find another way to keep the darkness away. I'm hustling, bustling, always trying to do my thing. Rushing and rushing, I'm loving what the music brings. Music is my soul. Music is your soul too. Oh, it's power to the mainframe. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. It's power to my brain. Oh, I was lying down looking at the stars. That's when I knew I was out of control. Transparency, I was staring through my ghost. That's when I knew there was one way to go. And I say, up, I'm not down, I'm in, I'm not out, I'm not out for the count, no. Music is my soul. Yes, music is your soul too. Oh, it's power to the mainframe. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. It's power to my brain. Oh.
Dude, thank you so very much. Come on, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What a joy, what a pleasure. Thank you, man. Oh, dude, what a lovely, uplifting moment to
I fucked up halfway.
But you know, but that is the beauty of this trip as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit of no one's perfect, you know.
Dude, let it be real. You know what I mean?
I've been walking
walking down this road, road to somewhere. I've been. Oh shit! Can I say? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so I'm going. I've been walking down this road, the road to somewhere, and I'm over your ego. I look backwards down the road, road to somewhere, road to anywhere, anywhere but here. I've been trying to lose my fears of not going anywhere. The lights of the cars look like shooting stars in the distance. The lights of the cars look like shooting stars in the distance. Yeah. If you can't see the end, don't worry, my friend, 'cause there's light around the bend. So unhang your head if you can't see the end. Don't worry, my friend, because there's light around the bend. So unhang your head.
you go.